Good morning. It's 3 past 6 o'clock. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, and the KEEL app, a free download from Office Furniture Source. Down yonder, Miss Erin has local news, and it's up next.
An early morning shooting leaves a woman and her 1-year-old baby shot. We'll talk more about that. The big legal battle between DeSoto Sheriff and the DA. We'll have the latest on that this morning, too. And Hurricane Michael continuing to strengthen in the Gulf.
Do you think an accumulation of gun violence in Shreveport has an effect on the mayor's race? We'll talk about that. And is there anything new about the explosive device found over the weekend on the Cross Lake Bridge? Fletcher in sports and traffic and weather, and it's all here this hour, and it's coming up on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
An early morning shooting in Shreveport. We get details from Matt Parker.
A woman and her 1-year-old child have been shot in Shreveport. The shooting happened this morning before 3:30 at a home near Greenwood Road and Pro Street. Not a lot of details are available on the shooting, but the victim's wounds are said to be serious and possibly life-threatening. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
The area's newest marijuana clinic, Total Health Clinic, opened Monday in Bossier. The medical facility is located on Riverwood Drive off Benton Road. Well, they examined potential patients to see if they meet the conditions for marijuana treatment. This is the second clinic to open in the area. The other was opened last month in Shreveport. The clinics will only be able to recommend the use of medicinal marijuana. Shreveport's only pot pharmacy won't open until December. A legal battle between DeSoto Sheriff Jason Richardson and DA Gary Evans has been postponed. Richardson is trying to block Evans from convening a grand jury to investigate the sheriff's office. The judge delayed the legal case to give both attorneys additional time to prepare arguments. Richardson claims that the attempt by Evans to investigate his office is a political ploy to sully his name ahead of the upcoming sheriff's election. The investigation and lawsuit stem from accusations over the misuse of LACE funds by the sheriff's office. Hurricane Michael continues to strengthen. Storm surge and hurricane warnings are in effect for the Gulf Coast. This Florida woman not taking any chances.
I've always managed to stay in my home for the whole season, every year. This is the first year I come out to get sandbags.
3 Florida Panhandle counties issued mandatory evacuation orders ahead of Hurricane Michael's expected landfall. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos wants to allow schools to use federal money to arm teachers. DeVos's plan would allow states and school districts to buy guns and pay for firearm training for educators. However, lawmakers are divided on the plan. Some senators believe that the states should choose how they spend the money. Others believe it would create an unsafe learning environment for students. A new study shows the divorce rate dropped by 18% between 2008 and 2016. Researchers say this is likely because millennials are waiting to get married until later. Director of Tulane's social work program, Parker Sternberg, says the delay in marriage is likely due to growing up in a society where divorce was so prevalent.
The death of a family is a very painful thing, and now they have societal norms that make it okay for them to not get married so early.
Sternberg says millennials are approaching marriage differently than previous generations. They lifted candles above their heads to signal unity and perseverance. More than 1,000 people jammed a riverside park in Amsterdam, New York, for a Monday night vigil for the 20 people killed in a limo crash. A limo driver taking 17 people to a birthday party ran through a stop sign and hit a parked empty SUV and 2 pedestrians. How's this for a pumpkin? A guy in Oregon grows a whopper weighing in at 2,170 pounds. The second heaviest pumpkin ever weighed at the Pumpkin Weigh-Off in California. The record, by the way, 2,600 pounds. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Good morning at 6:09, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic update starting us off for Tuesday. Here's Ruben.
Everything's still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Old Bendon Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid today. A shower thunderstorm around for the afternoon. High 84. Then tonight cloudy with a few thunderstorms around. Low 71. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
Good morning at 6:11. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Don't forget the KEEL app is always a free download, presented by Office Furniture Source. Okay, so already you're on the phone this morning. Who are you trying to call? Who are we trying to track down to comment on what?
Police department, because there was a shooting about 3:30 this morning. Left a woman wounded and her 1-year-old baby wounded. Barbara Street in the Country Club Estates subdivision.
You said Greenwood Road off Greenwood Road?
At Greenwood Road,
so
Pro
here's
Street.
Greenwood and Pines. Is that going west?
No, going toward the Country Club.
Going back down toward the old Shreveport Country Club.
In that area.
Esplanade in that area? Then,
right.
I think there's a Pizza Hut down that way. Okay, go ahead.
Happened 3:30 this morning. We don't know any details yet. Again, a 1-year-old baby has been shot with life-threatening wounds. The baby's mother's been shot. That's all we know. Don't know anything about who did the shooting, whether it was a break-in, whether it was a domestic situation. Don't know yet.
What
but
have the police
waiting
said?
to hear back from the chief has been on the scene.
Really, Chief Crump was on the scene this morning.
Yeah, he's out there apparently. So
what have the police said other than what was in your newscast?
Nothing yet. Nothing. No release has been sent out. No names obviously yet, and no suspect information yet.
Do you think candidates walk a fine line? Mayoral candidates walk a fine line bordering on, God, I don't want to say demagoguery because that's not the right word. Is it difficult for a mayor, if you were Erin McCarty running for mayor, when something like this happens, when you feel that this is the major problem with the city, as a lot of candidates, hell, a lot of people do, is it hard to walk that line to how do I phrase this? Is it take advantage is the wrong term, but you know what I'm trying to say? How, or do you think it speaks for itself?
It really does speak for itself. It's hard to predict where and when these kind of incidents are going to happen. They just happen.
Actually, maybe not.
Well, you don't know when there's going to be a domestic dispute. You don't know when a family situation is going to erupt.
I'm talking about violence in general in Shreveport. Of the 5 candidates, I apologize. Of the 4 candidates of the 5, Mayor Tyler has not joined us as of yet for a one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Of the 4 candidates we have had in the studio to talk about their plan for the city, on the Republican side, Jim Talaferro, Leo Savage. On the Democrat side, we had Adrian Perkins and Stephen Jackson. 3 of those 4, do you remember which one said that in his mind violence was not Shreveport's number one problem, that it was economics? Do you know who said that? Do you remember? Stephen said that.
Stephen said that?
Yeah. The other 3 said that talking to people on the street, and well, what Stephen said is that talking to people on the street, that folks, in his dealings with the voters, that it was the economy was the bigger issue of the 2.
Wow.
The other 3, I know that you know that Talaferro and Savage would both say that.
Right.
I mean, that it's violence, that it's crime, and not the economy.
I think it's a combination. I don't think you can say it's one or the other. I think it's a combination of things.
But it's Adrian Perkins who said nothing stops a bullet like a job. Didn't he say that?
Yeah,
so
but
Adrian is making the connection. If there were jobs in Shreveport, if we could go back to, say, 1990 and get those 20,000-odd manufacturing jobs back, that we might have a little better situation now than we had then.
But the problem is bigger than that, because you and I grew up in homes where when you got in a fight with your brother or you got in a fight with someone at school, you didn't pull a gun out and shoot them. Maybe it resorted to fisticuffs occasionally.
So now we're talking about the sociological problems of perpetuating and multi-generational poverty.
How did you learn and I learn that you don't resort to violence when you're angry?
Does that matter at this point? Does it really look? And because
I don't know if you can change it. I think you can try.
So we have more lost generations. Look, I'm not disagreeing with you. We have created, for lack of a better analogy, and I think it's a pretty good one, we have created to a great degree in this country. It's like H.G. Wells' time machine, the Eloy and the Morlocks. And the Eloy, during the day, live above ground and eat plants and hug each other and are little skinny people and dance around.
Yeah.
And then at night, the sun goes down and the Morlocks come down and they try to eat the Eloy.
Yeah.
I mean, haven't we really created in America, not we, I didn't have anything to do with it, but over the last, one can go back to the early 1960s and the Lyndon Johnson Great Society programs that created the entitlement state that exists in this country today. So, okay, so let's go back to what, 1964 and undo 50 or 60 years? Is that possible anymore?
I don't think it's possible. I do think you can train young people on how to respond to anger and to disagreements. I think you can work on that.
Who is we? Who's going to go out and sell that? I have asked every mayoral candidate that came in, what responsibility does a mayor have, if any? What can a mayor do to be that inspiration, to be that moral leader, to say look, when Adrian Perkins was here, when Stephen Jackson was here, we talked about, to some degree, the differences in a black and an African-American mayor and a white mayor. Are there certain factions of Shreveport's population to which an African-American mayor can relate that a white guy just can't? Can that African-American mayor reach out? Can that African-American mayor make a difference in a way that a white mayor, bluntly put, cannot?
Right.
I don't know.
I think there are communication lines that are better open with an African-American mayor. I think that's true.
Or are there organizations already in place? You can list the multitude of groups, of
absolutely.
organizations, of neighborhood reaching out program. I don't know the word.
But you're not going to reach everyone. You're never going to reach everyone.
Obviously, we're not reaching a lot of anybody.
But to think, let's just take, for example, today's incident, this morning's incident. A woman and her 1-year-old baby are wounded. Say the person who did this shooting is caught, and that may have happened this morning. We don't know yet. What is going to work for that person? Is putting that person in jail for 20 years?
Not going to shoot anybody else in jail.
Nope, not going to shoot anybody else in jail. Maybe harm somebody in jail. But what could have been done in that person's life to prevent him or her from doing what's happened this morning?
So are you going with John Bell here? Well, actually, I exaggerated that just a bit.
No, but I, putting folks in jail hasn't been working. We still are a violent society.
Are you violent?
No, I'm not.
Is Matt violent?
No.
So there is. It's police officers.
There's a faction in our society who's violent.
Yes, those without parents.
That's part of the problem.
No, it's not part of the problem. It's the problem.
No, economy's the problem too. You're wrong if you don't think so. But it's.
So you're saying that poor people are predisposed to violence? I don't believe that at all.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if a mom is a single mom and has to work 2 jobs, she's not at home to do the things that normal parents would do: read to their kid, teach them, put the dinner on the table and eat together as a family.
Again, we're back to.
So you lose the family structure. Mm-hmm. The kid is raised by people that maybe on the street, maybe by, other relatives, and don't get the nurturing and training that they need.
Isn't that what I said?
It's economic because the mama is out there having to work 2 jobs and so is not available.
But what responsibility do those people have to bluntly put, to be educated, to get a job, to take care of themselves, to not?
That's where your problem comes in, because we're going back to 64. So this has been ingrained in how they have lived. That's how they lived. They lived in a home where they were not nurtured, not read to.
So now we're back to multi-generational
and so didn't have a good education.
We're back to the Eloy and the Morlocks.
Went to inner city schools.
Horrible analogy, and I don't mean it as bluntly.
But these folks went to inner city schools where you and I we can dance around it as much as we want, but they're not successful.
One of the things you and I grossly disagree about is what you call inner city or schools. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to Fair Park High School.
Yes.
And the fact that, or any, what you would say is inner city school. Mm-hmm. Do you think that if every morning at 7:30 or 8 o'clock or whatever time it happened to be, if all the kids in those classrooms, given the lack of computers, given the lack of facilities, given the lack of whatever they were lacking, do you think if all the kids in those schools at 7:30 or 8 o'clock every morning were in their desks, sitting upright, paying attention to the teachers, don't you think they could get a pretty good education?
That's not happening in any school anymore. That's not happening ask any teacher. Kids are not all in their desk behaving like little gentlemen and gentle ladies. It's not happening in any school anymore.
Then we've got a lot bigger problem than we had when we started this discussion.
You're absolutely right.
21 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic update coming up right now. Here's Ruben.
Everything's still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Old Bendon Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
Good morning. It's 101.7 FM 710 Keel Sports Time. Here's Tim.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's record for career passing yardage with a 62-yard perfect strike to rookie Traquan Smith late in the second quarter of the Saints' dominant 43-19 win over Washington. That toss pushed him past Manning's mark of 71,940 total yards through the air. Brees finished 26 of 29 for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns without an interception. Again, the veteran QB has yet to throw a pick in 5 games. Brees' big night overshadowed the return of Mark Ingram from a 4-game suspension for PED use. The Heisman winner scored twice on short runs and finished with 53 yards rushing and 20 yards receiving. The Saints hit their bye week with a 4-1 mark and are alone in first place in the NFC South. In the baseball playoffs, the defending champion Astros finished off a 3-game sweep of Cleveland with an 11-3 win to move into the American League Championship Series. Houston scored 10 runs in their final 3 at-bats, highlighted by 3 RBI from Marwin Gonzalez and a 3-run homer from Carlos Correa. Boston moved within a game of winning their division series with a 16-1 rout of the Yankees. Brock Holt became the first player in MLB history to hit for the cycle in a postseason game. His 9th-inning homer came off Yankee backup catcher Austin Romine. And the Dodgers moved into the National League Championship Series with a Game 4 takedown of the Braves in Atlanta, 6-2. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Twenty-five past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, that Keel app, a free download from Office Furniture Source. You know, one of the things that constantly just makes me nuts is these radical predictions of disaster by global warming crazies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the IPCC is?
No.
Let me think a second. It's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. That's the IPCC. And they were sort of tied together with the Paris Climate Accord. Remember the ones that Trump sort of said, that's we're not giving you $1 billion or
right.
whatever it worked out to be. How long have I said that everything about global warming is really about taking money from the United States and to some degree other developed countries and giving it to third world nations? That the United Nations right now is really nothing than a bunch of shakedown artists controlled by third world dictators.
Right.
You ready for this?
I'm scared.
Headline: a $240 per gallon gas tax to fight global warming.
Whoa, how much again?
$240 per gallon gas tax to fight global warming.
Where?
That's what a new United Nations /IPCC report suggests.
Oh, my goodness.
A United Nations special climate report suggests that to avoid the catastrophic results of global warming, remember going back to like the early to mid-1980s, they said we had like 10 or 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I just challenge people, name one of the dire consequences, and God knows they're all dire consequences that are made by global warming fanatics
right.
that have ever happened. Al Gore, we've got 5 years, we've got 10 years, Ted Danson, the sea. Remember my story? God, we'll talk about this later. Remember my story about canceling Sports Illustrated when they had the picture of Miami, was it Florida Marlins pitcher Dontrell Willis on the cover, and he was up to his waist in water. And the story was how global warming affects sports. Our changing planet affects the games we play. And that was the day, I think it was like 2007. I had a Sports Illustrated. I had an SI subscription since I was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Nonstop. I was like a 55-year-old guy at the time. And I stopped. Right then, I canceled it. Let me just read this, and we'll cover this a little bit more later. A United Nations Special Climate Report suggests a tax on carbon dioxide emissions would need to be as high as $27,000 per ton at the end of this century to effectively stop the catastrophic effects of global warming. For Americans, that will be the equivalent of imposing a $240 per gallon tax on gasoline by the year 2100.
Oh, my goodness.
Should such a recommendation be adopted. By 2030, how old were your sons? Your sons they were born in the late 20th century.
Yeah, they were.
But your grandkids will still be around.
You bet.
In 2030, the report says a carbon tax would need to be as high as the report, a United Nations IPCC endorsed study that says by 2030, a carbon tax would need to be as high as $5,500 per person, the equivalent to a $49 per gallon gas tax.
God, that'll never happen. It'll never happen.
Who was the president who was pilloried, who was lambasted, who was crucified in the media for pulling out of the Paris Accords? Who were the people behind the Paris Climate Accords? IPCC. These guys. If these guys had their way, and you say it'll never happen, look at all the people that think it should. 629, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Yes, sir.
We'll be joined by the Police Corporal Angie Wilhite coming up at 6:40 on the shooting of the mother and her 1-year-old.
Local news up next. Right now, Ruben has traffic.
Everything's still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Old Bendon Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid today. A shower thunderstorm around for the afternoon. High 84. Then tonight cloudy with a few thunderstorms around. Low 71. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
Preparations are being made for the arrival of Hurricane Michael along the Gulf Coast. John Cangelosi, the National Hurricane Center, has the latest.
Michael right now is over the southern Gulf of Mexico. It's a Category 1 hurricane. Maximum winds are near 90 miles per hour. Located about 450 miles to the south of Panama City, Florida.
35 counties in Florida are under a state of emergency. A woman and her 1-year-old child have been shot in Shreveport. It happened early this morning at a home near Greenwood Road and Pro Streets. Not a lot of details are available yet, but the victim's wounds are said to be serious and possibly life-threatening. A new marijuana clinic opens in Bossier. Matt Parker with that.
The area's newest marijuana clinic, Total Health Clinic, opened Monday in Bossier City. The medical facility, located on Riverwood Drive off of Benton Road, examined potential patients to see if they met the conditions for marijuana treatment. This is the second clinic to open in the area. The other was opened last month in Shreveport. The clinics will only be able to recommend the use of medical marijuana. Shreveport's only pot pharmacy won't open till December. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
A legal battle between the DeSoto Sheriff, Jason Richardson, and the DA, Gary Evans, has been postponed until at least Friday. Richardson is trying to block Evans from convening a grand jury to investigate the sheriff's office. The judge delayed the legal case to give both attorneys additional time to prepare arguments. Richardson claims the attempt by Evans to investigate his office is just a political ploy to sully his name ahead of the upcoming sheriff's election. The investigation and lawsuit stem from accusations over the misuse of LACE funds by the sheriff's office. 1 killed and 5 hurt after a West Dallas townhome collapses. More from Allison Harris.
Cadaver dogs sniffed for any survivors trapped under wood beams after a 3-story townhome under construction in the Trinity Greens area of Dallas at Rodeo and Bolger collapsed during strong winds and heavy rain Monday afternoon. 1 person died.
The investigation into the case continues. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos wants to allow schools to use federal money to arm teachers. The plan would let states and school districts buy guns and pay for firearm training for educators. But lawmakers are divided on the plan. Some senators believe that the states should choose how they spend the money. Others believe it would create an unsafe learning environment for students. The newest Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh, sworn in a private ceremony after his confirmation. He was sworn in again on Monday in a ceremony in the East Room of the White House. He spoke after his swearing in and acknowledged his difficult confirmation process.
The Senate confirmation process was contentious and emotional. That process is over. My focus now is to be the best justice I can be. I take this office with gratitude and no bitterness.
He's expected to begin hearing cases on the Supreme Court immediately. And a big night for Drew Brees. The Washington Redskins were in the Superdome to take on the Saints, but the game really wasn't the story. The Saints were the winners, but Drew Brees is now the NFL passing leader. He passed Peyton Manning during the game last night. The game ball was presented to the Hall of Fame staffers who were in attendance. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Hi.
.101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 637. Yes, ma'am.
Corporal Angie Wilhite.
Your mic has to... Attention.
Hello over there. Wake up, Maddie. Corporal Angie
He was
Wilhite.
up playing blackjack last night. Oh,
yeah,
wait.
Was he?
Is tonight your blackjack night?
Tonight will be.
Oh, gosh. Parky. We're doomed.
I might call in sick tomorrow.
Yeah,
we'll
we're
see.
doomed.
Corporal Angie Wilhite joins us in just a couple of minutes on that shooting in Shreveport, kind of West Shreveport. Sad. A 1-year-old baby shot.
And evidently from what you had said, it was, for lack of a better term, it was a drive-by. Somebody driving by stopped, fired shots into the house.
And then fled, yeah.
Let's just hit somebody. Let's just,
were they targeting somebody else in the house? I don't know.
Whoever we want to kill may be in there, so we'll just unload a fusillade or fusillade, depending on your pronunciation, of gunshots into this house, and now you've got a woman and a little baby injured. Talk about Peyton Manning. That was just playing in my ear.
Yeah.
Drew Brees last night. Could there have been a more awesome play?
I teared up
to break. I figured this out last night.
It was so cool.
It was pretty awesome. I figured this out last night. How long has Drew Brees been in the NFL? 16, 17 years, 16 years? 16. Okay. I figured this out last night. 72,000, because he may have surpassed that last night. 72,000 career passing yards. You can divide that by 1,760 and see how many miles it is. In fact, I did not, and I should have. 72,000 career passing yards is literally 15 complete NFL seasons, 16-game seasons. 72,000 passing yards is 15 complete seasons of 300-yard passing games.
It's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
It is. It really is unbelievable. He really is a beast. He truly is a beast.
No, he's my size.
No, but I mean a beast in skills.
But that's the amazing thing.
He's 5'10".
They'll say between 5'11" and 6. I'm right at 6 feet.
They said last night, all night, he's 5'10". He's just,
to make his records, to make his accomplishments even more impressive. It's amazing how he's going to be shrinking. He's going to be Doug Flutie by the end of the week.
Yeah.
He's going to be Billy Barty by the
Kevin Hart.
He's going to be, yeah, exactly. 639, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Angie Wilhite, SPD, is coming up next. Right now, traffic time. Here's Ruben.
Everything's still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Old Bendon Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
.101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Shreveport Security Systems text line 318-392-1884. Corporal Angie Wilhite, Corporal Angie Wilhite, Public Information Officer, Shreveport Police Department. Hey, Miss Angie, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Mr. Robert?
Well, I'm excellent. Thank you, ma'am. Let's start from the beginning. Tell us what happened last night, what time, where, etc.
Okay, yeah, just right around 3:30 this morning, Shreveport Police were called to the 4100 block of Barbara. That's over off of Greenwood Road on the west side of Shreveport.
What part of Greenwood Road is it? Give it to me.
The neighborhood, is it Country Club
in
Estates?
relation to Shreveport Country Club?
It is immediately west of the Shreveport Country Club.
Thank you, ma'am.
Past Esplanade and Curtis.
Okay.
3:30 in the morning, Angie. What happened?
Yes, ma'am. We responded to reports of a shooting in the block there, in the 4100 block of Barbara. We arrived to find a 20-year-old woman and a 1-year-old child, both suffering from gunshot injuries to their legs. Both of them were transported to University Health Hospital. And the 1-year-old initially was thought to be life-threatening. He or she has since stabilized, and they believe that she's going to be okay now.
Was this, for lack of a better description, sounded like a drive-by? Is that a fair assessment?
Well, investigators said that they can't say whether or not that it was a drive-by or someone walked by, but we do know that we do believe at this point that the house was fired upon from outside of the residence. We've recovered multiple shell casings and other evidence there from the scene. And right now, the investigators haven't gotten a whole lot of information. There was another adult male that was at the home during the time of the incident, and he is down at the police complex right now for questioning.
His relationship to the woman?
Boyfriend.
Okay. Was he the target?
Don't know. He says no, but the investigators are still working to try to develop that.
Any background on him? Have y'all ever had any run-ins with him before?
Or bluntly put, do you believe the guy?
Yeah, well, they're still real early on in the investigation. I spoke with the detective just a little bit ago, and right now that's all the details that they have.
You said a number of shell casings. Can you tell us how many?
Close to 20.
And what kind of weapons were they? Do you know yet?
Yes, we do, but they're not releasing that at this time.
Handgun?
They're not going to release the caliber or weapon right now.
Okay.
How many shooters? Just one, two? Do we know?
That's the information we're trying to get right now, Miss Erin. We're trying to get more details of the incident. So far, those have not been provided to the investigation.
Where was mom and baby when they were hit? Were they in bed sleeping? What was happening?
Inside of the residence in the bedroom.
So the bedroom was at the front of the house, I assume, or I don't know. What kind of ammunition, what kind of guns it was? Did they bounce around the house? Is this ricochet? I don't know anything. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing, Mr. Robert. I mean, bullets of any kind and sheetrock, they're going to shred right through that. When you have a house that's taken on fire from the outside, I don't know where the bedroom was positioned inside the house, but whether it's handgun or rifle, that bullet can travel through multiple rooms in that house, and bullets are unforgiving. They strike everything in their way.
How many bullet holes found in the house?
I don't know. They're still out there processing the scene now.
Was the fellow that was the boyfriend of the woman who was shot? Did he leave the scene and come back? Was he there when you got there? How exactly did that turn out?
He was immediately available to investigators.
Was he the one who called 911?
Now that I don't know, Miss Erin.
Residents heard the gunshots? Did y'all have a lot of people coming out of their homes this hour of the morning, or was it quiet?
At 3:30 in the morning, it's usually pretty quiet. That neighborhood is an older neighborhood, and there's just, I don't know if you know how it's set up, but there's two exit streets, and it is just normally a real quiet neighborhood over there.
And this was a little girl, you're saying?
A little 1-year-old girl, correct.
Sleeping in bed with mama, and 3:30 in the morning, shots on the house.
Correct.
Where's this stop?
Well, I think Chief Crump said it best. There's obviously nothing random to a situation where one house on a block of multiple homes sustained gunfire, and we're just hoping that we can get some cooperation and get the information we need to find out who's responsible for this.
Any evidence of drugs or anything like that in the home?
No, ma'am.
Angie Wilhite, Corporal, Shreveport Police. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, ma'am. Always a pleasure. We appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty take an early break. We'll have your money now in a couple. You have a troubled look on your face.
Just a 1-year-old baby laying in bed with mama, and now is in the hospital with a bullet wound in her leg, and mama too.
So they got lucky.
Could be dead today. We could be talking about a dead baby today, which I hate to put it that way, but that's what we could be talking about, because somebody had a beef with somebody else, or some random shoot. Who knows what caused this?
In other words, who really knows whether it was the right house or not?
Yeah, I don't even know if they picked the right house.
Yeah.
Or, oh gosh, it's just sad.
What did they say? What did she say? 20+ shots?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Try to track the chief down for later. He may join us in just a little bit with a little more info. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
648, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Your Money Now is on the way. Traffic and weather updates next right here on KEEL. Good morning, 649. It's 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. The KEEL app is a free download from Office Furniture Source. Here's Ruben.
Everything's still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Old Bendon Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid today. A shower thunderstorm around for the afternoon. High 84. Then tonight cloudy with a few thunderstorms around. Low 71. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
.652, time for KEEL Sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's record for career passing yardage with a 62-yard perfect strike to rookie Traquan Smith late in the second quarter of the Saints' dominant 43-19 win over Washington. That toss pushed him past Manning's mark of 71,940 total yards through the air. Brees finished 26 of 29 for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns without an interception. Again, the veteran QB has yet to throw a pick in 5 games. Brees' big night overshadowed the return of Mark Ingram from a 4-game suspension for PED use. The Heisman winner scored twice on short runs and finished with 53 yards rushing and 20 yards receiving. The Saints hit their bye week with a 4-1 mark and are alone in first place in the NFC South. In the baseball playoffs, the defending champion Astros finished off a 3-game sweep of Cleveland with an 11-3 win to move into the American League Championship Series. Houston scored 10 runs in their final 3 at-bats, highlighted by a 3 RBI from Marwin Gonzalez and a 3-run homer from Carlos Correa. Boston moved within a game of winning their division series with a 16-1 rout of the Yankees. Brock Holt became the first player in MLB history to hit for the cycle in a postseason game. His 9th-inning homer came off Yankee backup catcher Austin Romine. And the Dodgers moved into the National League Championship Series with a Game 4 takedown of the Braves in Atlanta, 6-2. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
1017 FM and 710 Keel, Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Jack Spring Electric Shockbuster button, unused. That's a good thing. Maybe we can make it. You know what? This is kind of odd. No, never mind. I don't want to use this analogy because it's kind of macabre, so never mind.
You see Drew Brees last night?
Yes. You know, interestingly enough, I forgot it was on.
Oh, my.
It's
I was crying.
Watching the Saints game last night, and I turned it on with about 5 minutes left in the first half. Was the first time my television had been on since last Thursday or Friday.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, look, with no disrespect to any cable, no television delivery system, because there are any number and any number of types, I'm paying $179 a month for something I never use.
Goodness.
How many channels do you watch?
Oh, I watch a ton of channels.
I watch about 3.
I watch a ton.
But the 3 that I want to watch, when they're in the bundles, that it ends up costing me like $175, $180 a month.
I mean, and I've got the TV where I can go to Netflix, I can go to Amazon Prime, I can go to Hulu, I can do them all.
We'll talk about Drew Brees later. An amazing performance, a 62-yard touchdown pass, by the way, to break the Peyton Manning total passing yards record for the National Football League.
Scott Martinez with the North Louisiana Economic Partnership is in studio. What kind of businesses do we want to bring to Shreveport?
And maybe he brought us some money. Right now, here's Rush on Keel.
Now that the Brett Kavanaugh vote is over, the drive-by media trying to figure out how it'll affect the midterm elections. Now, according to Politico, Republican happiness about the outcome might be just a sugar high. Democrat pollster Celinda Lake thinks that happy Republicans could grow complacent. She says that anger always lasts longer than happiness, and it's the Democrats who are angry. Yeah, Democrats are angry, but what's new about that? They are perpetually angry. They've been furious since Hillary lost. They've been furious since Gore lost in 2000. They've spent the last number of years having a collective hissy fit, screaming, yelling, threatening, vandalizing, intimidating, disrupting, venting nonstop. They have thrown any notion of decent behavior and civility out the window. They chase Republicans from restaurants. They attack teenagers wearing Make America Great hats. They bully politicians at work. They send angry mobs to their homes. Republican members of Congress were shot trying to play baseball near the Capitol. Yeah, the Democrats are angry, but maybe, just maybe, the wizards of smart are underestimating how fed up the rest of the country is, watching the left's endless, insane temper tantrums of increasing psychological disorders disguised as politics. I know I am fed up. Cyber criminals, cyber bad guys can attack your laptop, your tablet, your smartphone without you even knowing. Or they can steal your identity, and you may not realize it until it's too late. That's why LifeLock Identity Theft Protection now includes the power of Norton Security to help protect your identity and your devices. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect a range of threats to your identity. And Norton Security protects against online threats like ransomware or malware. And if there is a problem, LifeLock with Norton has agents who will work to fix it. Now, no one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor transactions at all businesses, but new LifeLock with Norton Security provides more detection and more protection against cyber threats. Go to lifelock.com or call 800-440-4833. Use the promo code RUSH for an additional 10% off your first year, plus a $25 Amazon gift card with annual enrollment. Terms apply.
Starting to see some slow-moving traffic on Texas Street in downtown Shreveport, and we have some traffic delays on Old Bendon Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
KeelAccuWeather.com forecast, kind of cloudy, a small chance of rain today, only in the low 80s. Right now, 71 at Keel, 7 o'clock.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 Keel. KEEL, Shreveport.
Good morning at 7:03. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Miss Erin, local news. It is coming up in just seconds.
A 20-year-old woman and her 1-year-old baby girl are wounded in an early morning shooting. We'll have more on that. The legal skirmish between the DeSoto sheriff and the DA heats up again. That's coming up this morning, too. And things in the Gulf are heating up as Hurricane Michael continues to strengthen.
Let me see if I got this right. Okay, so Scott Martinez, he is president of the North Louisiana Economic Partnership. He is just a few minutes away talking about, economic development for the Shreveport, well, all of this part of the state.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Dr. Jim Henderson, president of the University System of Louisiana, at 7:40.
Yeah, and Scott Hughes is going to come in, and he doesn't like polls, but...
What time is he? Is he this hour?
He's 8:10.
Okay.
We're going to hit him over the head with the latest poll.
Huh? Never mind.
I shouldn't threaten to hit someone with a pole, should I?
Yes, you did. You're a very violent young woman. Plus Fletcher in sports and traffic and weather, and it's all coming up this hour right here on Keel.
Power of information. KEEL News now.
A woman and her 1-year-old child have been shot in Shreveport. The shooting happened this morning before 3:30 at a home near Greenwood and Pro Street in the Country Club Estates subdivision. We do know that sometime this morning, an unknown vehicle pulled up outside the home. Someone inside that vehicle fired shots into the home. The baby was struck in the leg. The woman, believed to be in her early 20s, was hit in the leg or hip area. Both were taken to the hospital. No idea yet what motivated the shooting. Hurricane Michael continues to strengthen. Storm surge and hurricane warnings are in effect for the Gulf Coast. This Florida resident explains how she's preparing.
Just making sure I have food that I don't have to cook, and making sure there's plenty of water and ice and all that kind of stuff.
Florida Governor Rick Scott says Hurricane Michael is a monstrous storm. The area's newest marijuana clinic, Total Health, opened in Bossier. The medical facility, located on Riverwood Drive off Benton Road, examined potential patients to see if they met the conditions for marijuana treatment. This is the second clinic to open in the area. The other was opened last month in Shreveport. The clinics will only be able to recommend the use of medical marijuana. Shreveport's only pot pharmacy won't open until December. A big legal battle in DeSoto Parish postponed for now. Matt Parker with the latest.
A legal battle between DeSoto Parish Sheriff Jason Richardson and DeSoto DA Gary Evans has been postponed. Richardson is attempting to block Evans from convening a grand jury to investigate the sheriff's office. The judge delayed the legal case to give both attorneys additional time to prepare arguments in the case. Richardson claims that the attempt by Evans to investigate his office is a political ploy to sully his name ahead of the upcoming sheriff's election. The investigation and lawsuit stem from accusations over the misuse of LACE funds by the sheriff's office. From 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Matt Parker.
If it seems like those jackpots on the lottery billboards just keep getting bigger, it's because they are. The Mega Millions game from the Louisiana Lottery, currently up to $470 million, making it the 6th largest jackpot in the history of the game. Lottery spokesperson Kim Chopin says this current jackpot is the second one this year to break the top 10.
This jackpot has been rolling since July, and when it was hit in July, it was all the way up to $543 million, which at that time was the 3rd largest jackpot in the game's history.
Powerball also up to $270 million. New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees is the NFL's all-time career passing leader, and he did it in grand style with a 62-yard TD pass to rookie Traquan Smith. It was one of 3 touchdown passes thrown by the 39-year-old quarterback as New Orleans routed Washington 43-19 to improve to 4-1. The TD pass set off a wild celebration inside the Superdome.
I mean, it played out even greater than I ever could have imagined. I tried to rehearse the scenario in my mind this week just so I could really focus on the game. But to then have the moment with Sean and Mr. Baker from the Hall of Fame and then my boys and my wife Brittany and my daughter Rylan, that was incredible.
Breeze went around the field hugging as many people as he possibly could. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Nine past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL traffic update. Ruben's here.
Starting to see some slow-moving traffic on Texas Street in downtown Shreveport, and we have some traffic delays on Old Minden Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
Twelve after 7 o'clock, Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Don't forget the Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. In studio for a while is Mr. Scott Martinez. He is the president of the North Louisiana Economic Partnership. Mr. Scott, welcome back to KEEL. Dapper as always.
Thank you so much. I finally get to see the flag with the French fries.
It is, isn't it? Thanks to Jay Darden, he redesigned the Louisiana state flag, specifically the penguin's nest.
Right.
I know it's a pelican, but I say penguin. And if you look at the latest incarnation,
You can watch it on our Facebook live feed right now.
Over my shoulder,
right behind Robert.
The pelican's nest looks like French fries.
It does.
Going to read your email that you sent us last week because some interesting points. You said you'd been listening, that we'd been talking lately a lot about economic development, jobs, industries coming to Northwest Louisiana, specifically Shreveport. And you wrote here, some of the information is solid, but some has been hollow. as is my nature, let's start with the negative. What have you heard on this station from guest or guests with which you might not totally agree?
I don't think many people that have been on here, I don't think they have an understanding of what's actually happening in economic development in Shreveport and Northwest Louisiana.
Happening or not happening?
Happening. There's a lot of positive things happening in North Louisiana,
Fill us
and
in.
Northwest Louisiana in particular. We hear oftentimes about the General Motors facility and what's not happening there. Well, it's a large facility. There's, quite frankly, not a lot of end users for millions of square feet of space. That's pretty obvious. But what gets left out, no one ever talks about Globus Hyundai that's out there. Have you heard of anyone talk about that on this?
Well, they don't come in
Minimal.
trumpeting, but go ahead.
Well, there's 180 jobs that weren't there. They'll process over 100,000 Hyundai and Kia cars from Monterrey, Mexico, from West Point, Georgia, from Montgomery, Alabama, as well as South Korea through that facility. So there is commerce going out there. Is it at the level of General Motors having 3,500 direct employees there? No. But there is activity.
But don't you think
there.
that to some degree is because of the deal that the commissioners, that the Caddo Commission made?
Well, the deal that the Caddo Commission made was pretty much, from my perspective, a finance mechanism. They paid $7.5 million for an asset at the time. The commodity value of the building was $8.5 million, and got mineral rights and then retained some of the property. Whether you like the deal that was done or not, it was done by a majority of the Caddo Commission through the Industrial Development Board. Actually, the Industrial Development Board through the Caddo Commission. So the deal's there. Until the federal government took that facility, it was always in private ownership. So, and even with the deal that they have with Stuart Lichter and his group, IRG, the parish and the IDB will still reap, a benefit from that, even if it's just transactional. So, but I don't want to get hung up on that. There's other things happening here. I look at General Dynamics in Bossier City. They've got over 1,000 employees where they started at zero. Last week I was in Atlanta with General Dynamics, and they got recognized with Bossier Parish Community College, Northwestern State, and Louisiana Tech for one of the best collaborations between business and higher education in the world.
And yet the Shreveport unemployment rate is what, 6-point-something percent, 6.1, 6.6?
Certainly higher than it should be.
And nationwide, it's what, 3.7 now.
Yeah.
So what can we do in this? What can anybody do? What can the next mayor do? What can people like you do to get it down into the fives?
Yeah, I think we have to continue working. There's been lots of things that have been said about there not being a plan. Well, we did a plan in 2014, and we've stuck to that plan. If you look just since 2014, and I'll give you the numbers, we've submitted 222 sites in Shreveport for 81 different projects. And there's often a comparison to Texas. I spent most of my career in economic development in Texas. From Round Rock, Texas, I was the economic development director there in the Austin market, to Conroe, Texas, in the Houston market. There are many inherent advantages that we have to compete against when it comes to Texas. First of all, it's unconstitutional to do a tax exemption unless you do specific things in the state of Louisiana. For instance, payments in lieu of taxes through the Industrial Development Board. In Texas, you've got 254 counties, and I would contend there are 254 different approaches to economic development.
Mm-hmm.
The counties and the municipalities...
And you see that as a good thing?
Yes, I love local control. That's the advantage that Texas has, and I'll go into a little bit more detail.
So in a roundabout way, is that the Louisiana government, the state bureaucracy, hinders everybody.
Texas does things differently. I'll always side with local control. I'll always side with it. But you look at the powers that are granted counties and municipalities in Texas under Chapters 380 and 381 of Local Government Code, and they have broad powers to do economic development projects. For instance, I was in Round Rock, Texas. We did an IKEA store. Everyone knows the big blue and yellow IKEA store. I had a city councilman there that hated the concept. He didn't want a big blue and yellow box on the interstate. Blue and yellow, you put them together, they make green. That's what I concentrate on. But I was able to do a $5 million incentive that was a combination of sales tax rebates and property tax abatements until that value of that total incentive hit $5 million. That would be problematic for me to do in Louisiana. And we don't even have to go as far as Austin or Houston to see some of the things that we're competing against in East Texas. For instance, they have the local option sales tax there. They typically can pass through the ballot. It's completely the choice of the citizens. A half-cent levy for economic development. You look at communities like Longview, Texas. They probably have, last time I checked, over $6 million annually that's generated by that economic development sales tax. They're able to bond that money, develop industrial parks, and give cash incentives. We lost a project here in Shreveport, a 1.1 million square foot distribution center. They went to Longview. They got $7.5 million cash, plus free land.
What kinds of businesses should we be trying to attract to Shreveport?
I think our bread and butter is always going to be advanced manufacturing, and we've seen a tremendous growth in information technology. And I don't think that growth is limited to Bossier City. We've seen things, the revitalization of the Selber building in downtown Shreveport. I think there's a great opportunity in downtown Shreveport for tech companies, because you've got a great urban center there. I think if it's marketed and framed correctly, I think that's a tremendous opportunity given the telecommunications infrastructure. And we've got an element that's being developed in downtown Shreveport that hasn't been there before, and that's substantial residential development.
Scott Martinez, when we come back, can I talk to you about all the mayoral candidates are talking about, I'm going to sell our city. I'm going to have an active economic development person in the building, and we're going to do this right. We'll talk about that when we get back, all right?
Scott Martinez, President, North Louisiana Economic Development Partnership. Robert and Erin, 19 past 7 o'clock. Here's fuel traffic. Here's Ruben.
Starting to see some slow-moving traffic on Texas Street in downtown Shreveport, and we have some traffic delays on Old Bendon Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
Past 7 o'clock, KEEL Sports.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's record for career passing yardage with a 62-yard perfect strike to rookie Traquan Smith late in the second quarter of the Saints' dominant 43-19 win over Washington. That toss pushed him past Manning's mark of 71,940 total yards through the air. Brees finished 26 of 29 for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns without an interception. Again, the veteran QB has yet to throw a pick in 5 games. Brees' big night overshadowed the return of Mark Ingram from a 4-game suspension for PED use. The Heisman winner scored twice on short runs and finished with 53 yards rushing and 20 yards receiving. The Saints hit their bye week with a 4-1 mark and are alone in first place in the NFC South. In the baseball playoffs, the defending champion Astros finished off a 3-game sweep of Cleveland with an 11-3 win to move into the American League Championship Series. Houston scored 10 runs in their final 3 at-bats, highlighted by 3 RBI from Marwin Gonzalez and a 3-run homer from Carlos Correa. Boston moved within a game of winning their division series with a 16-1 rout of the Yankees. Brock Holt became the first player in MLB history to hit for the cycle in a postseason game. His 9th-inning homer came off Yankee backup catcher Austin Romine. And the Dodgers moved into the National League Championship Series with a Game 4 takedown of the Braves in Atlanta 6-2. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
1017 FM and 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, 24 past 7 o'clock. Here for another segment is Scott Martinez, president of the North Louisiana Economic Partnership.
Wanted to ask you, many of the mayoral candidates are talking about, I'm going to get a salesman at City Hall. We're going to go out and sell our city and market our city. Do we need that? And what does that person need to be doing?
I think you need a salesperson just doing Shreveport. But I don't know, as far as you look at the content and the marketing, I don't know what they would do much differently except looking myopically at the city of Shreveport. You know, our staff has relationships. I have relationships in the site selection world that go back over 20 years. If there's a project that's happening in Shreveport or North Louisiana, I'm going to get the phone call. 9 times out of 10, they're going to call me because of having that 20-year relationship. And I've heard some of the candidates talk about going out and talking to companies, and it's more complex than that. It's more than just salesmanship. You've got to make sure that your product is the product that they want, number one, and number two, that they need. It's a process. Economic development is a process of elimination. The two biggest drivers in economic development, we can talk about taxes and business climate and all of those things, is public safety and public education.
Mm-hmm.
So unless those two things are being addressed in a meaningful way, then you start at an inherent disadvantage.
Let me follow up. Pretend like I have 100 jobs and I'm looking for a place to bring my business. You're right. I'm going to look at where my employees want to live to raise their families. And if I'm looking at Northwest Louisiana, I'm going to Bossier, Scott.
I look at the whole picture. The Bossier and Shreveport economy, despite what people say, is the same. You can look at the trends, and we did this study a few years ago of the migration of where the employees in Caddo Parish work and where the employees in Bossier Parish work and what jobs they're going to. Predominantly, the out-migration of employees, of residents leaving Bossier City to work in another parish was to Caddo Parish, and they were working in healthcare and manufacturing, which are good jobs, good-paying jobs. If you look at the Caddo residents that are going to Bossier, they're predominantly working in the hospitality sector. So one parish doesn't work without the other.
Right.
You know, we can talk about, and this happens everywhere. I don't care if you're in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Monroe, West Monroe. People are going to throw rocks across the river. A river seems to be that common thing that I see.
But don't you see a big disparity in the education system in Bossier as compared to Caddo? I mean, that seems like that's a big stumbling block for Shreveport.
There are different approaches to education with the magnet systems and magnet programs and schools in Caddo Parish compared to Bossier Parish. There's a different approaches to public education. But you have to keep into consideration Caddo Parish is much more diverse and deals with different issues many times than Bossier Parish does. The city of Shreveport is 4 times the size of Bossier City.
Right.
So there are inherent different challenges in those cities just by the sheer size and the diversity of those cities.
When we had Stephen,
and I'm not looking for an excuse. That's just the reality of it. You put any 200,000 population city or near 200,000 population city against a 50,000 population city, and you're gonna see similar things, whether a river divides them or 100 miles divides them.
Right.
When we had Stephen Weigesback from LABI last week, and I sort of quoted a management consultant, Simon Sinek, who said, you got to have a why. And I said, so to Stephen, I said this. I said, so what is Shreveport's why? Is that our biggest problem? And you sort of touched on that a couple of seconds ago. Does Shreveport have a, for lack of a better term, branding problem, an image problem? And how do we overcome that?
I think Shreveport, and I live in Shreveport, and I could live in, and I serve many great communities in North Louisiana, but live in Shreveport. Shreveport, from my perspective, is the capital of the Arklatats. The commercial airport, if you're flying into Northwest Louisiana, you're flying into a city of Shreveport facility. If arts and culture, the predominant player in arts and culture is in the city of Shreveport. Higher education, I mean, there's almost 20,000 students in the city of Shreveport. So it's, you look at the transportation, you look at everything. Shreveport has some very good advantages. You look at health care. there's so many great things about the city of Shreveport that oftentimes get overlooked with the Shreveportitis or people being so negative.
So if
and
I'm
not
putting
having that pride of place.
like a plan together, if I'm putting like a presentation together, I could easily put in your mind Shreveport untapped potential.
Well, I would say, we've realized some of that potential, but I think many times we've been our own worst enemy and not playing up the positive aspects of Shreveport. I deal with companies from all over the world. Last year we had 8 site consultants that do business with companies such as Boeing, to Harley Davidson, to IBM in Shreveport and Bossier City. They said the biggest asset was marketing, not just Shreveport but the region. Because when you market as a region, you bring in everything. You bring in the Barksdale Air Force Base. You bring in.
So you think we could,
Cyber Innovation
all of us
Center.
could work together a little bit?
I think you have to work
better.
together. And I think if you talk to any person that's engaged in site consulting that does corporate location, they look at it from a regional economy. They're not going to look at it from the city limits of Bossier City or Minden or even Shreveport. They're going to look at it from labor shed. They're going to look at it where they can draw talent. They're going to look at quality of life from a regional aspect and not just myopically into one municipality. And we do regionalism across 14 parishes. We're the only group in the country that covers 2 very distinct MSAs, and we do that to leverage resources. Look, economic development, there's a lot of blocking and tackling that goes on. We spend lots of time collecting data, doing proposals, hosting site visits, and I think we're among the best in the country at doing that. We still have things like every other community in the country to overcome. There's no perfect situation for a company to come into. We've got to mitigate those disadvantages. People talk about General Motors leaving. That was not a good thing, obviously, for the community. But Bentler Steel spent $1 billion in our community. Guess what a new auto plant cost? $1 billion. People keep talking about the General Motors facility being retrofitted into another auto plant. Well, the way they make cars now is so different than they did in 1979 when they started building that first building out of the General Motors plant. You had one platform. Now you may have 5 or 6 different platforms on the same line with the way they build things. So we get caught up too much, I think, in our past and don't look to our future. We need to stop looking in the rearview mirror and start looking through the windshield.
Scott Martinez, North Louisiana Economic Partnership. Thanks so much for coming
Great
in.
stuff, man. Thank you so much. Good to see you. 101.7 FM 710 Keel traffic update coming up right now. Erin has local news just ahead, by the way. Here's Ruben.
Still keeping a close eye on that minor accident on Ellerby Road near East Flournoy Lucas Road. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Traffic Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
Police funds by the sheriff's office. 1 killed and 5 hurt after a West Dallas townhome collapses. More from Allison Harris.
Cadaver dogs sniffed for any survivors trapped under wood beams after a 3-story townhome under construction in the Trinity Greens area of Dallas at Rodeo and Bulger collapsed during strong winds and heavy rain Monday afternoon. 1 person died.
The investigation into the case continues. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos wants to allow schools to use federal money to arm teachers. The plan would let states and school districts buy guns and pay for firearm training for educators. But lawmakers are divided on the plan. Some senators believe that the states should choose how they spend the money. Others believe it would create an unsafe learning environment for students. The newest Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh, sworn in a private ceremony after his confirmation. He was sworn in again on Monday in a ceremony in the East Room of the White House. He spoke after his swearing in and acknowledged his difficult confirmation process.
The Senate confirmation process was contentious and emotional. That process is over. My focus now is to be the best justice I can be. I take this office with gratitude and no bitterness.
He's expected to begin hearing cases on the Supreme Court immediately. And a big night for Drew Brees. The Washington Redskins were in the Superdome to take on the Saints, but the game really wasn't the story. The Saints were the winners, but Drew Brees is now the NFL passing leader. He passed Peyton Manning during the game last night. The game ball was presented to the Hall of Fame staffers who were in attendance. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Does Medicare have
Tell you what, we'll just do a quick traffic thing here and come back with Dr. Jim Henderson. How's that sound? 738, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. Your thoughts, concerns, hold the criticism. I'm feeling a little frail today. Traffic update coming up right now. Here's Ruben on KEEL.
Close eye on that minor accident on Ellerby Road near East Flournoy Lucas Road. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Traffic Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're active with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid today. A shower thunderstorm around for the afternoon. High 84. Then tonight cloudy with a few thunderstorms around. Low 71. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
741, it's 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. The KEEL app, a free download from Office Furniture Source. Dr. Jim Henderson is the president of the University System of Louisiana. Hey, Dr. Jim, welcome back to KEEL. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Good morning. How are you?
You know, we had the story, I guess it was early on last week, maybe the week before, I don't recall, about the changing the entrance requirements for LSU. And we wanted somebody, to explain that to us. But let's start with this, is because there's going to be less emphasis on testing and grades. You explain to me how you perceive these changes.
Well, of course, I'm not a spokesman for LSU. I want to make that clear at the beginning. But it seems that LSU is putting a larger emphasis on what we call holistic admission standards. And holistic is a word that is been around admission standards probably for the last 10 to 15 years. In fact, 10 years ago, I was on a panel with a faculty member from LSU who was talking about their holistic approach. So I'm not sure that this is really a new process, and it might be more of a focus an amplification of that process.
Are there any other universities, any other university systems around the country that are doing this, and has it worked out to the better?
Depends on how you look at it. So if you look at, there's a number of Ivy League schools and highly selective universities that have been the forefront of holistic admissions. But remember, these are universities that are deciding between a candidate pool, tens of thousands of candidates that have a 32-plus ACT. And they're using holistic admissions to distinguish amongst these academically gifted applicants. Other universities that aren't as highly selective will use holistic admissions sometimes to advance diversity, a diversity agenda to diversify their campus, and there's a lot of value to that. And so there's a number of ways you can apply holistic admissions. It can work, but I caution we cannot use universities in an effort to boost enrollment or boost some of these other needs and bring students into an environment where they can't be successful. So if you're going to enroll students that have not had the academic rigor of the core curriculum that Louisiana has been on the forefront in the K through 12 system and advancing, and if they don't have the test scores and the academic preparation, they're not going to be successful at the university level unless you have some comprehensive support structures around them, and that can be very difficult and very costly to do.
The headline says the LSU board okays new admission standards that lean harder on essays and recommendations rather than test scores. That sounds like it's really subjective. Who's telling me my essay is better than Robert's or vice versa? And there's going to be a lot of wiggle room here, right?
Well, if you look at our admission standards now, they're divided into tiers. So we have the flagship university at LSU. We have the statewide universities, which would be UNO, Louisiana Tech, and UL Lafayette, and then the regional university. And the admissions criteria established by the Board of Regents for each of them is a little bit different. But here's the key, and this is what people sometimes misunderstand. There is an ACT score requirement, or there's a high school GPA in the core curriculum. So maybe you're a student that doesn't do as well on the ACT test, standardized test. Maybe you're from a rural area and you don't have access to some of the ACT preparation that others do. You can still achieve admission to our most prestigious universities by performing well in the core curriculum in high school, the math, the science, the social studies, the English. And when you perform well with that GPA, and between those are two great predictors of success. Either individually typically is not, at least especially in the ACT score. You could have a low ACT score and still excel in college. However, that GPA, which is determined over a 4-year period, it really gets to the academic aptitude of the student. I think that's a worthy standard. And an essay is great, and recommendation letters are great, but that should be able to enhance that academic record and not substitute for it.
Dr. Jim, you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that obviously LSU is not under your aegis, under your authority. but a lot of universities, a lot of colleges across the state are. How do you anticipate that these changing standards, entrance standards at LSU, will affect the colleges that you work with?
There's a lot of misconceptions about that. Someone asked me, "Are you worried that LSU is going to go after the students that attend your university?" And listen, we've got 135 valedictorians that attend UL Lafayette. Louisiana Tech, who was the first public institution, one of the first public institutions in Louisiana to implement selective admissions criteria before it was ever required. That was done under the presidency of Dan Renault, and Dan knew that if you were going to be a successful student at Louisiana Tech, you had to be academically prepared before you got to Louisiana Tech. And now Louisiana Tech just had their largest freshman class in history. It's also the most academically gifted in its history. You go to Northwestern State, where they have the Louisiana Scholars College, which is the preeminent honors college, the state-designated honors college in Louisiana. They've got their highest enrollment in their history. Grambling State, with the Renaissance under the leadership of Rick Gallo, introduction of cyber programs and some of the things that they're doing there academically, they've had their fourth consecutive year of growth. And so, I'm not worried about what it does for our institutions. We're focused on getting students in that are prepared to succeed and then preparing them for success after graduation.
How many more students can LSU take? Critics are saying this is just to put more tuition-paying students in LSU's classrooms. Are they anticipating this will grow their enrollment by big numbers? I mean, because it's lower standards.
Well, I will tell you this, that all of us want to serve more students simply because we have to have a more educated populace. We have to have a more educated workforce. College-educated citizens contribute a lot to the richness of life in communities. LSU has a strategic plan that they're pursuing that I hope focuses on research, it focuses on graduate studies, it focuses on some of the things that make LSU truly a great institution. Our institutions are focused on preparing the most educated generation in Louisiana's history. Our institutions are focused on pursuing research that has immediate application in the regional economies we serve, and growing arts programs that contribute to the quality of life in our communities, and finally giving our employers a competitive advantage because of the talent we develop. So we intend to grow. We intend to produce 150,000 new graduates by 2025, and we continue to be a central part of the communities that we serve.
Dr. Jim Henderson, thanks so much for your time.
Always a pleasure, and hope things are going well at Shreveport. I miss you guys a lot.
Take care, sir.
749, it's 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic and weather coming up. Let's do it right now. Traffic update for Tuesday. Here's Ruben.
Just received reports of a minor accident on Ellerby Road near East Flournoy Lucas Road. And we have some traffic delays on Shed Road near Swan Lake Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
Shreveport Bossier's home for breaking news and trending talk. 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEELnews.com.
7:52. It's 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL Sports.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's record for career passing yardage with a 62-yard perfect strike to rookie Traquan Smith late in the second quarter of the Saints' dominant 43-19 win over Washington. That toss pushed him past Manning's mark of 71,940 total yards through the air. Brees finished 26 of 29 for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns without an interception. Again, the veteran QB has yet to throw a pick in 5 games. Brees' big night overshadowed the return of Mark Ingram from a 4-game suspension for PED use. The Heisman winner scored twice on short runs and finished with 53 yards rushing and 20 yards receiving. The Saints hit their bye week with a 4-1 mark and are alone in first place in the NFC South. In the baseball playoffs, the defending champion Astros finished off a 3-game sweep of Cleveland with an 11-3 win to move into the American League Championship Series. Houston scored 10 runs in their final 3 at-bats, highlighted by 3 RBI from Marwin Gonzalez and a 3-run homer from Carlos Correa. Boston moved within a game of winning their division series with a 16-1 rout of the Yankees. Brock Holt became the first player in MLB history to hit for the cycle in a postseason game. His 9th-inning homer came off Yankee backup catcher Austin Romine. And the Dodgers moved into the National League Championship Series with a Game 4 takedown of the Braves in Atlanta 6-2. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
.101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. New poll numbers. Shreveport Mayor's race.
Partial.
Partial, yeah.
Don't get me started.
By design. You do the same thing.
I would absolutely do the same thing. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but it's still partial. On my end of the screen.
It wasn't the partial. It was the when you said, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Get you started means I'm going to be critical here. Somebody wind me up and turn me loose. And I'm saying if you were in charge of those polls, you would probably be limited in the amount of information that you gave out.
Of course I would. But on the other side of the table, I'll be critical of the ones who don't give them out.
Scott Hughes, political analyst.
He doesn't like polls.
It joins us just after 8 o'clock. What to you was the most interesting thing about the poll numbers from the recent GOP, Republican Party of Caddo Parish, mayoral poll? What was the most interesting thing about that? Let's assume for the moment that those numbers are on the money.
From our ciphering, Jethro, I think...
Nice rope belt, kid.
I think the two Republicans being kind of neck and neck.
Neck and neck, or neck and neck for second and third?
Neck and neck for second and third.
Because if they were neck and neck for third and fourth or fifth and sixth or whatever, it wouldn't matter.
Right. Neck and neck for second and third.
Like I said yesterday, it's intriguing to me that all of a sudden, if the results of this poll, what does Scott say? It's a moment in time. Who knows? And he'll talk more about that. But if those numbers are on the money and you have Mayor Tyler in first spot and you have either Savage and Talaferro or Talaferro and Savage in second and third, then what you have is when you combine the total percentages of Talaferro and Savage, you have a substantial lead over Mayor Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
And what you also have, surprisingly, it, like I said yesterday, to quote myself, it pulls the rug out from under the theory that for a Republican candidate to make the runoff, to make the December runoff, that one's going to have to withdraw and throw his support behind
that. It's going to have to happen.
Well, no.
But the problem is they're so close.
According to this poll, the runoff will take care of that. You see what I mean?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
If you have Republicans in
Mhm.
second and third, then eventually I would imagine most, if not all, of the Republicans will, in fact, throw their support behind the lone Republican candidate in
Right.
the runoff.
Mhm.
7:57, here's Hannity on KEEL.
Waking up on the right side. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
I'll tell you one thing that's happening is Republican enthusiasm is now surging. It is now awoken a sleeping base. Maybe now you'll understand what is at stake. This is why for, how long this year have I been saying this is the most important midterm election in our lifetime. And you better assume that right now in a Senate race or a member of Congress that is running, especially with 40 retirements, you better assume that we're behind. And you better assume that it's a possibility that Nancy Pelosi can be Speaker of the House again. And Maxine Waters and Jerry Nadler will run committees. And you better assume that Chucky Schumer can win and become the Senate Majority Leader.
From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
Blinds.com, they make it simple and easy to upgrade the look of a single room or your entire home with brand new made-to-order custom blinds. Now, every order gets free samples, free shipping, and free professional online design consultation. You can read reviews and see inspiring before and after pictures. And now through October the 9th, Blinds.com has their Columbus Day sale. Save up to 50% site-wide with the promo code Hannity. That's up to 50% site-wide at Blinds.com, promo code Hannity. Rules, restrictions apply. Hey, if you or a loved one struggles with leg or foot cramps, you've got to try TheraWorks Relief. Now, this non-greasy foam is proven to relieve muscle cramps fast, and with daily use, TheraWorks Relief can prevent muscle cramps, so that means you can get a full night's sleep or do the activities you love without any worry. TheraWorks Relief is my choice for preventing and relieving muscle cramps. Get TheraWorks Relief today in the pain relief aisle at Walmart, CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, or just go to the website, TheraWorksRelief.com.
Still keeping a close eye on that minor accident on Ellerby Road near East Flournoy Lucas Road. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Traffic Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Here's your KeelAccuWeather.com forecast. Kind of cloudy and a small chance of rain today. Not nearly as warm, only in the low 80s. Right now, 71 at Keel. It's 8 o'clock. Time for Fox News on Keel.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 Keel. KEEL, Shreveport.
Should we start talking? Good morning. It is 3 past 8 o'clock. 1017 FM 710 Keel. Robert and Erin. Erin, local news. Lots of that, and it's coming up next.
A woman and her 1-year-old baby girl have been shot. The shooting happened early today. We'll talk more about that. Also, the area's newest marijuana clinic is opened in Bossier City, and a legal battle between the DeSoto sheriff and the DA has been postponed.
Scott Hughes, political analyst, not a big fan of polls, but we'll see what he has to think about the latest JMC Enterprises Shreveport mayoral poll. He will join us in studio in just a couple of seconds. And did you see, it's a viral list that it's a woman and her 22 rules for her boyfriend. You haven't seen. Wait until you see these rules.
It's not enough rules.
Fletcher in sports, traffic, and weather. It's all coming up this hour right here on Keel.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
An early morning shooting in Shreveport. We get details from Matt Parker.
A woman and her 1-year-old child have been shot in Shreveport. The shooting happened this morning before 3:30 at a home near Greenwood Road and Pro Street. Not a lot of details are available on the shooting, but the victim's wounds are said to be serious and possibly life-threatening. From 1017 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Matt Parker.
The area's newest marijuana clinic, Total Health Clinic, opened Monday in Bossier. The medical facility is located on Riverwood Drive off Benton Road. Well, they examined potential patients to see if they meet the conditions for marijuana treatment. This is the second clinic to open in the area. The other was opened last month in Shreveport. The clinics will only be able to recommend the use of medicinal marijuana. Shreveport's only pot pharmacy won't open until December. A legal battle between DeSoto Sheriff Jason Richardson and DA Gary Evans has been postponed. Richardson is trying to block Evans from convening a grand jury to investigate the sheriff's office. The judge delayed the legal case to give both attorneys additional time to prepare arguments. Richardson claims that the attempt by Evans to investigate his office is a political ploy to sully his name ahead of the upcoming sheriff's election. The investigation and lawsuit stem from accusations over the misuse of LACE funds by the sheriff's office. Hurricane Michael continues to strengthen. Storm surge and hurricane warnings are in effect for the Gulf Coast. This Florida woman not taking any chances.
I've always managed to stay in my home for the whole season, every year. This is the first year I come out to hit sandbags.
3 Florida Panhandle counties issued mandatory evacuation orders ahead of Hurricane Michael's expected landfall. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos wants to allow schools to use federal money to arm teachers. DeVos's plan would allow states and school districts to buy guns and pay for firearm training for educators. However, lawmakers are divided on the plan. Some senators believe that the states should choose how they spend the money. Others believe it would create an unsafe learning environment for students. A new study shows the divorce rate dropped by 18% between 2008 and 2016. Researchers say this is likely because millennials are waiting to get married until later. Director of Tulane's social work program, Parker Sternberg, says the delay in marriage is likely due to growing up in a society where divorce was so prevalent.
The death of a family is a very painful thing, and now they have societal norms that make it okay for them to not get married so early.
Sternberg says millennials are approaching marriage differently than previous generations. They lifted candles above their heads to signal unity and perseverance. More than 1,000 people jammed a riverside park in Amsterdam, New York, for a Monday night vigil for the 20 people killed in a limo crash. A limo driver taking 17 people to a birthday party ran through a stop sign and hit a parked empty SUV and 2 pedestrians. How's this for a pumpkin? A guy in Oregon grows a whopper weighing in at 2,170 pounds. The second heaviest pumpkin ever weighed at the Pumpkin Weigh-Off in California. The record, by the way, 2,600 pounds. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Good morning. It's 10 past 8. It's time for KEEL Traffic Update. Ruben's here.
The intersection at Hearn Avenue, slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Benton Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
Twelve past 8 o'clock. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. It's 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. That KEEL app is always a free download from Office Furniture Source. Scott Hughes, if you're listening, I know he said he was coming up Pines Road or thereabouts. Come in the front door of the building. It's open.
Front door's open.
Okay, so you have, and I know you have to be careful here to not to break promises to, because you talk to people all the time and you sort of off the record, kinda, and anonymity, etc. What's the latest you have discovered, if anything, specifics, number specifics about that JMC? Is it JMC Enterprises?
They're not giving number specifics except to say that Ollie Tyler has 27%. Adrian Perkins was in 4th.
Well, now that's
between 27 and 5.
That's where it gets kind of interesting, and let's sort of give
near the mid-range, which is 16.
Let's give the person who brought this up anonymity for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
And this was brought up with us with relatively recently, and they said, in reading the information that was made public by the Caddo Parish Republican Party, who commissioned the poll,
Mm-hmm.
and what they asked was, is the Caddo Parish GOP splitting hairs? Are in fact Talaferro and Savage and or Talaferro in second and third, or they said, is the way it's phrased, pull up the email that you got yesterday.
I've got it.
What they said was, or could it be that Talaferro and Savage combined are ahead of Perkins, that Perkins is in fact in second? Read that and let me know what you think, because that wasn't the way I read
me either.
The email at all.
No, I didn't either. The results of a scientific poll of likely Shreveport voters shows Jim Talaferro and Lee Savage leading all other candidates other than incumbent Ollie Tyler in the hotly contested race for Shreveport mayor. That just means Jim Talaferro and Leo Savage lead all the other candidates. That doesn't mean you combine their two
Political
scores.
analyst Scott Hughes is here. Okay, let's start by jumping to a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
The results of that poll, as were given to us by the Caddo Parish GOP, and I don't know if you've seen the email or not. Erin can read it again.
I have.
Are they splitting hairs? Do you think they mean that both? Do you think the GOP poll, the JMC poll, taken last weekend, do you take it to mean that both Talaferro and Savage are in second and third place and Perkins is fourth behind Ollie at 27? Or do you take it to mean, as was presented to us earlier this morning, that Talaferro and Savage combined have more than Perkins?
I don't know that we can answer that question. They have not really given you that full, complete poll. That's one reason I don't like polls.
But do you think it's an outrageous, I don't want to say accusation, do you think it's an outrageous assumption to think that they might be, I don't want to say twisting the numbers a little bit, but...
I think that there's something hidden in those numbers they don't want people to see.
We didn't take it that way at all. What was that again? I'm sorry.
I think there's something hidden in the numbers they don't want people to see, or they would just put the poll out. And that's one reason I don't like polls. I think they made it very clear in the poll, from what I've seen, that Ms. Tyler is at around 27%. That seems to be
that's a number that you have embraced all along.
I've called her at 30%, so I can't really disagree with that point in time, that moment when they polled. I think they have put Mr. Jackson clearly in fifth. They've put him as low as 5%. I personally think that's a little low, but I haven't seen the poll. But let's accept their numbers and say he's in fifth place.
Bluntly speaking, is Stephen just not a player at this point?
Well, he apparently doesn't have a base. He is an elected official. He has a district that elects him. But if all the let's take all the polls. We've heard of 3 or 4 polls that seem to have Mr. Jackson consistently in fifth place,
and consistently Ollie's number 1.
And so we'll accept that. I don't accept that he's low as 5% personally, but we'll accept that poll. And so you get to the interesting part. And you start breaking down what they did try and say in one of those paragraphs. And one of your nighttime anchors, I think, did a really good job last night of trying to break that down a little bit. They gave a fact. They said that Mr. Perkins is double digits below Miss Tyler. So if you're trying to keep your own score, that's at least 10. Let's say it's 10 based on the verbiage. I think they're stretching every point they can stretch to make their point here. So that means that Mr. Perkins is probably at least below 17% if they're giving you facts.
Yeah, because the midway between Ollie and said that midway that Perkins was just below the midway point between 5 and 26.
And the midway is 16.
Which is 16.
So it put him at 15.
So based on what they're saying, you put Perkins around 15 or 16. Then I think what you're talking about, Robert, is there's another line. I don't have it exactly in front of me, where they said, and they trail the Republican candidates by a couple of points. And so that would then put the Republican candidates likely somewhere around the 16, 17, 18% mark. There's also a number that's not being talked about. That's in every poll that's done, and we don't know if it's in this one. That's undecideds. And so I think if you're just taking 100 points and working backwards, you might think the Republicans, and they're trying to imply to you that the Republicans are up at a higher number. I believe they're sitting around 17, 18%.
Let me phrase it to you this way. If Ollie's at 27, which doesn't seem to be an outrageous percentage at all.
Agreed.
And Adrian is at about, let's say, 14 or 15%, which I don't think is an outrageous number at all. But when the GOP poll says, let me rephrase it. Let me phrase it this way. Do you think that Savage and Taliaferro are at 17 or 18 or 19% apiece? Or do you think that Taliaferro and Savage are at a combined 17 or 18 or 19%?
I think it's more likely they are both in that area of 15 to 20%, 17, 18 to use your number. There's roughly 35% registered Republicans in this town, maybe 40, depending on if you count those who vote Republican. I'll say it that way, maybe not registered. So it is very conceivable that two of them together are attracting that voter block, and together that would be about 35%. Now, I think the problem the Republicans have is that they did the poll for a very specific reason. They did the poll to try to determine which one should drop out.
Yes.
And the poll didn't answer that question.
No.
So the poll's useless to them. So now they're trying to find another use for the poll, and they're clearly trying to go after Perkins and say that you should not vote for Perkins.
The headline on it says, new polling data shows Jim Taliaferro and Lee Savage best positioned to defeat incumbent Ollie Tyler in December. Is that pipe dreaming?
I think that's creative headline writing, because they're trying to imply to you that the two together, say they each have 18%. It's give them what I think is the benefit of the doubt. They each have 18%. That's only 36%. That means that they're still going to have the traditional problem. I'm not saying they cannot win. One of those candidates can probably still win if they get to the runoff. That's why you held elections. But at the end of the day, it's the same problem that Victoria Provenza had last time. It's the same problem that Jerry Jones had against Cedric Glover. It's one thing to make the runoff. It's another thing to get that crossover vote and get over 50%.
It'll be a lot easier, it'll be a lot easier for Taliaferro to get Savage votes or Savage to get Taliaferro votes than it will be for
them to get Adrian Perkins' votes.
Bingo. 19 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. More with Mr. Scott Hughes in just a couple of seconds. Traffic update coming up right now. Here's Ruben on KEEL.
The intersection at Hearn Avenue and Milam Street is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Benton Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather forecast, mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84, cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight, low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow, otherwise humid, clouds giving way to sun, high 82. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
So you want to know why everybody in a Shreveport
Twenty-two past 8 o'clock. Time for KEEL Sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's record for career passing yardage with a 62-yard perfect strike to rookie Traquan Smith late in the second quarter of the Saints' dominant 43-19 win over Washington. That toss pushed him past Manning's mark of 71,940 total yards through the air. Brees finished 26 of 29 for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns without an interception. Again, the veteran QB has yet to throw a pick in 5 games. Brees' big night overshadowed the return of Mark Ingram from a 4-game suspension for PED use. The Heisman winner scored twice on short runs and finished with 53 yards rushing and 20 yards receiving. The Saints hit their bye week with a 4-1 mark and are alone in first place in the NFC South. In the baseball playoffs, the defending champion Astros finished off a 3-game sweep of Cleveland with an 11-3 win to move into the American League Championship Series. Houston scored 10 runs in their final 3 at-bats, highlighted by 3 RBI from Marwin Gonzalez and a 3-run homer from Carlos Correa. Boston moved within a game of winning their division series with a 16-1 rout of the Yankees. Brock Holt became the first player in MLB history to hit for the cycle in a postseason game. His 9th-inning homer came off Yankee backup catcher Austin Romine. And the Dodgers moved into the National League Championship Series with a Game 4 takedown of the Braves in Atlanta 6-2. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Twenty-four past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel, Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. And here for another segment is political analyst Scott Hughes. Chomping at the bit, not Scott, but Erin.
I got to ask you something. We left off with saying that it would be tough for if a Republican is in the primary against Ollie Tyler, it would be tough for them to get the Adrian Perkins vote. And I would like to ask you, could Adrian help on that front? If Adrian said, you know, I don't like the way the city's run, like he's been campaigning, and I'm going to throw my support to this Republican guy.
In other words, who's Adrian's second choice?
Does he play a big factor in who he's going to end up supporting if he winds up third?
I think once you get to the runoff, you're going to have obviously 6 candidates that didn't make the runoff.
Mm-hmm.
And all those 6 candidates are going to bring percentage points. Clearly, the 2 that are going to bring the biggest are going to be Mr. Perkins and the other Republican.
Mm-hmm.
And so what those do are going to be very telling. It's safe to assume that Lee or Jim will endorse the other. That's the Republican rally. I don't know what Mr. Perkins will do. And the key is, will it matter? I think Mr. Perkins is putting together, or attempting to put together, a coalition that is black and white, Republican and Democrat. And so in that case, I don't know that he's going to be in a position to say, I endorse this person, and all of his followers go there. His followers may split and go different directions.
Right. See, that was kind of my question, is all of a sudden Adrian, who evidently by running doesn't think that Miss Ollie is doing that good a job, suddenly he, like I said, who's going to be his second choice behind Adrian Perkins?
Well, and that's a great question for Adrian. But like I said, I don't think it matters as much as who Adrian supports as the people that support Adrian.
You know, we were in the break. And
oh, zip it up.
No. This doesn't have to do with you.
Okay, good.
And why did you assume? And you're sitting there, and you kind of slouch, and you put your head in your hands, and you go, God, I hate polls. Why?
Well, we've talked before here on the radio. I'm not a fan of polls because everybody jumps on the poll and they think it's election day. And the poll, any poll is a snap in time. Any poll is a victim of how it was done. One of the things that's really interesting for those who are geeking into polls is the Republicans, apparently by design, if we listen to JMC's analysis, is they underpolled Republicans. If you look at some of the statistical things.
It was like 56-30.
I think they only polled 30% Republicans. So they're by their own nature, they underpolled Republicans. So I think that's interesting. I don't know what that means. I'll take my guess. I think they're trying to figure out which of their candidates might do better, not with Republicans, but with the electorate at large, because that is the question you have to ask in the second round. Not who can make the runoff, but who can maybe beat the other candidate in the runoff.
Well, and
I would also like to see their head-to-head, because I was told by people who were surveyed that they were asked Ollie versus Jim, Ollie versus Leo. We should be able to see those numbers too, right? How did each of them perform against Heads Up?
Well, and that's why I'm not a fan of polls, because at the end of the day, polls are taken for political reasons. They're generally done by political camps. In this case, it's done by a party, and the party had a clear goal of doing this poll. The clear goal was to try to answer this Republican versus Republican question. They have data. They now are going to selectively release data. Let's back up. I mean, and I would say the same thing. The Democrats did a poll.
Sure.
They're releasing a poll that's going to help the Republican Party. And so rather than release the results like you might see with a Wall Street or a CNN or an ABC News or a Reuters poll nationally, you're seeing a poll that was done by a party for a political purpose, and they've chosen to give us a very selected snapshot of numbers that are only good for the party. So being an analyst, I have to be a cynic on this one and say, why are they only releasing those numbers and not releasing the other numbers?
Does this poll at all change the way any of the candidates are campaigning, in the sense that if Miss Ollie has a legitimate 27 and a rather substantial lead, is it basically I'm staying home, Domino's delivers? Is there any reason for her to leave the house between now and the election?
Well, I think what's going to be interesting is what the poll says in this sense. If we back up, the poll says we have a three-way race for second place. This is the same thing the polls were saying a week ago, 10 days ago when we were talking about other polls. This is a race for second place. And so forget the poll. What the poll says is three of y'all are in a race for second place. So now with roughly a month to go, I think it's actually 4 weeks from today. I think it's a Tuesday election from 4 weeks from today. A month from today, we will hold an election. What do those three candidates do? What do Jim and what do Leo do? Do they look at each other and say, I have to get to the top, so I have to go against your Republican base? Do I have to go for your Republican supporters? Do they look at Perkins and try and say, we need to pull votes away from Adrian Perkins to us? Maybe there's some Republicans who are voting for Adrian Perkins that they need to pull back. I think that's one of the things this poll may suggest. This poll is the party trying to take votes away from Perkins. Or do they look to the top? And I think if you look, Mr. Savage has kind of come out swinging lately with corruption and with things against the mayor. Do they look at the mayor and say, we can get more points from that 27%? My gut is you're not going to pull Ollie much lower than she is right now.
Right.
And so they're going to have to go after each other. And there's other danger minds in this poll. If you're going to show that Stephen Jackson's as low as 5%, the Jackson voter may say, I'm out with Jackson. My vote's a waste. So where's the Jackson 5%, the Jackson 5 going to go? The Jackson 5 may very well go to Perkins, who suddenly goes from whatever number this poll has him at, let's say 16, 15.
Bumps him into second.
To 2021 to second. So there is interesting numbers all over this poll. But then again, the poll now is useless. It was done a week ago.
Right.
The market has changed. And again, if it comes to polling, it's interesting to see polling over time.
Right.
But now we'll watch what they do. But someone's going to have to make a move fast.
Got a break, but got to stop. But the finance reports are starting to trickle in. Ollie's was in. It's at 710keel.com. Nothing surprised you on that, right?
No, she has strong support from the crowd you normally see, attorneys, people that do business with the city, engineers, contractors. That's very, very common if you're the incumbent. I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe she had well over $100,000 raised. She'd spent some money. She has roughly $100,000 on hand, $90-something thousand cash on hand. That'll give her a little boost. You'll also see more money come in now late. That one thing polls do is they start to give some people a snapshot of where the race is going. So there may be some folks that thought 3 months ago Tyler was not going to make the runoff. Now it appears she may make the runoff. Her financials look solid for a mayor at this point in this race. The interesting financials are going to be Talaferro, Savage, and we've heard Perkins has raised upwards of maybe $200,000 in the campaign. We've heard he had a $60,000 night where he raised money. We'll see how viable his campaign is, but more importantly, how much cash does she have left?
Those financials are due today.
We're running so late, but I've got to ask him one more question.
Go ahead.
On the Ollie financial report, not to get into specific numbers, but individual contributors, there were 21 pages of individual contributors. And when I saw that, I thought, so there's 21 pages of people. There's 21 pages of people who right now are looking at Shreveport and going, Yeah, things are going good. I like where this city's headed. Does that surprise you?
Well, it doesn't surprise me if you. It surprises me if you ask that question. I don't think that's the question to ask the people that have written the check to Mayor Tyler. I think, as Erin said last week, there are people in Shreveport that are quite happy and they think their neighborhood's fine. They think life is fine. But when you look at a person who will write a check, especially a person who will write a $1,000 or a $2,500 check, the maximum amount, a lot of times those people are saying, is my business relationship with the city of Shreveport right? Is Ollie the best bet for me? I hate to put it in those terms, but if I'm investing in this race, is that where my money is well invested? And I think what you would see is if you compared Ms. Tyler's financial report this time to her financial report 4 years ago, you're going to see that she has many of the same backers that 4 years ago. She won a fairly easy race 4 years ago. It was a fairly easy investment politically for a lot of folks to go with the winner. And if you endorsed Miss Tyler 4 years ago, why are you backing off now? That's your question. You know, are things so much worse than 4 years ago? And for someone who already has an invested relationship with the mayor, an invested relationship with the city, at this point, according to the latest polls out, she's at 27% leading the field. Why am I changing horses?
Scott Hughes, political analyst. Great stuff as always, my friend. Thank you for your time. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel traffic update now. Here's Ruben.
Still keeping a close eye on that major accident on East Coons Industrial Loop near Professional Drive. And we have some traffic delays on Benton Road near Green Acres Boulevard in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
.101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, it's 8:36. So when Drew Brees threw that touchdown pass last night, that 62 yardage to break the Peyton Manning total yards career record,
so
70
exciting.
near 72,000. Divide 1,760. Somebody in the studio. There's only one other guy. Divide 72,000 by 1,760. Let's see how many miles Drew Brees has thrown for.
Oh, my goodness.
Because I figured this out. 72,000 career yards passing, okay?
Yeah.
That is 15 complete seasons. 16 games in a season now. 72,000 yards passing is 15 complete seasons of 300-yard games. It's a lot of damn
What
passing.
am I dividing now? That I have a calculator.
72,000.
Yes.
By 1,760.
1,760. 40.909090.
So basically, Drew Brees has passed
40 miles.
He's passed from here to Benton and back.
Wow. Man, that's a long way.
You're telling me.
All the way to Marshall.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
About 15, 20, 25 yards at a time.
Woo-wee.
When that play happened,
I was tearing up.
did you jump up off the sofa?
No, but I was tearing up to watch his little boys and his little girl and his wife come down on the field for them to give him the ball and the certification and him hand it over to the Hall of Fame guy and hugging all his players. And then when he hugged Coach Payton.
With jeweler's gloves on, the Hall of Fame
it
guy.
was just so cool.
It's a football, dude. It's already dirty, and you're wearing jeweler's gloves.
Yeah.
You can accomplish, this is what he said to his kids on the sideline, because he was mic'd. You can accomplish anything. First of all, he said, how about Dad? He referred to himself, how about Dad? Then he said, I love you to each of them. And he said, you can accomplish anything in life that you're willing to work for.
Right.
That was what he said.
Amazing.
839, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, traffic update now. Ruben's here.
Still keeping a close eye on that major accident on East Bergtoon's Industrial Loop near Professional Drive. And we have some traffic delays on Benton Road near Green Acres Boulevard in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
.117 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. It's 841. Okay, I'm going to start this segment with this. This is going to be one of those things just to show you how, by comparing eras, generations, life/America has changed. And we did this. God, I've done this on the radio. I'll bet I first did this list on the radio to some extent, going back to KVKI, which is like 5, 6, 7 years ago. So this may be as much as 10 years ago. And it's the 1955 Good Housewife's Guide for how wives should treat their husbands.
I remember this.
And I read this, and you get nothing short of P.O.
Makes me want to throw up.
Well, this is 1955. What magazine was it? Housekeeping Monthly. An article entitled The Good Wife's Guide, detailing all the ways that a wife should act and how best she can be a partner to her husband and mother to her children.
Oh, man.
1, I'm just going to read a few of these before we move on. 1, have dinner ready. Plan ahead, even the night before, to have a delicious meal ready on time for his return. This is your way of letting him know you have been thinking about him and are concerned about his needs. Number 2, most men are hungry when they come home, and the prospect of a good meal is warm and welcomely needed. Prepare yourself. Take 15 minutes to rest so you'll be refreshed when he arrives. Touch up your makeup. Put a ribbon in your hair and be fresh looking. He has been with a lot of work-weary people all day, and he needs a change of pace. Number 4, be a little gay and a little more interesting for him. His boring day may need a lift, and one of your duties is to provide it. Number 5, there's a whole bunch of these. Clear away the clutter. Make one last trip through the main part of the house just before your husband arrives. Gather up school books, toys, papers, etc. Then run a dust cloth over the tables. Is that enough for you? Is that enough of that?
I don't even want to speak.
Is that enough of the 1955
Yeah,
list?
that's enough.
Okay. Now, let me read the headline. This will just give you an inclination, an insight into how America has changed. Girlfriend's controlling list of 22 rules for her boyfriend goes viral.
Okay.
Many say she sounds crazy. While it isn't uncommon for couples to have unspoken rules to ensure happy relationships, one woman took it to the extreme by drafting a lengthy contract detailing, Parky, have you seen this?
I have not.
By detailing 22 requirements for her boyfriend to sign. Now, this is not a teenage girl. This is not some college kid.
How old is this woman?
This is a grown-up woman. They estimate early to mid-20s. Her boyfriend, the way this list was found, it was in his car. He sold it and left it in the vehicle, and it was found. The list has since resurfaced, blah, 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 shared images along with comments by horrified readers. Going to have to clean a couple of these up.
Okay.
So, let me reiterate. She gave him this list. He signed.
He signed it.
He signed
Are
it.
they married now?
No. Well, I don't know.
Are they apart?
I don't know. This was found in a used vehicle.
Okay.
Here are her rules for him, which he signed.
Oh, man.
You are not to have any single girl's home phone number. You are not to follow any single women on social media, including Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. You are not, I assume where there are names in this list, it's his friends or hers.
Sure.
You are not to hang out with Keegan, including his house or anywhere public. I assume that's a friend of his. You are not to hang out with your friends more than twice a week. You are not to look at any single girl. If any woman comes up to you at any place or any time, you are to instantly walk away. Mo, another friend of his, I assume, is not to hang out with us every time we hang out. You are not to ask for sex.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
You are not to get mad at me ever about a single thing again. You are not to bring up, and I'm assuming this is her ex-boyfriend.
This is ridiculous.
You are not to bring up Tyler, Noah, Devin, or Josh ever again. You are not allowed to drink unless I am with you. I am allowed to do a phone check whenever I please. If we move in together, there are never to be any girls at our house. If we move in together, your friends will rarely be allowed to come over, and not without my permission. If I catch you around girls, I will kill you. You are never to ditch your friends for me. Austin, another friend, does not control you when I am hanging out with you. We are to go on a legit date once every 2 weeks, at least. If I say jump, you say, how high, princess? Yeah. Matt is so glazed over at this point.
I started ignoring you about 10 rules ago.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
2 more to go. You are to make sure you tell me you love me at least once a day, so I know you're not messing around. And last but not least, you are never to take longer than 10 minutes to text me back. Now, if you think...
There's no way a real man signed that. There's no way a real man... This is a hoax.
Well, that's why
this is on Snope or whatever that fake website is.
This is why he sold his car and probably fled to Mexico.
There's no way.
Because this is the type of woman that will burn your house down in the middle of the night while you're sleeping.
Who wants that kind of woman? Who wants that kind of control in their life by anyone?
As a single man of 31.
How big a bridge would you have her jump off of?
No, this is fairly average.
No, come on.
As a single 31-year-old man, demands like this are pretty average. This is why it didn't work out with the last one.
Oh, come on. That's baloney.
I'm serious.
You cannot look at a single girl. That's ridiculous.
Hold the horses. So what you are telling me is, as a 31-year-old single guy, that this list in your mind from the women you've known or the women that your friends are in relationships with is not that outrageous or uncommon.
Oh, no, it's outrageous. It's just not uncommon. One of my ex-girlfriends of recent vintage literally went through my Facebook when I was sleeping and started unfriending women that she didn't like the looks of.
Pardon me just a moment.
Wow.
If you accept, though unacceptable to you, if you accept that those rules for 1950s women could exist and women would in fact en masse live by them, why is it so outrageous to think that the worm has turned, so to speak, and that 21st century men are living under the same oppressive thumb just from the female gender?
That is just absolutely ridiculous. For any man to sign that, you need to go get some pecans.
They're in her purse. 849, 1017 FM, 710 Keel traffic update. Here's Ruben.
Still keeping a close eye on that major accident on Eastburg Coons Industrial Loop near Professional Drive. And we have some traffic delays on Benton Road near Green Acres Boulevard in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid with a shower thunderstorm this afternoon. High 84. Cloudy with thunderstorms around tonight. Low 71. Shower thunderstorm in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise humid. Clouds giving way to sun. High 82. With your accurate with the forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
1017 FM and 710 Keel. In-depth coverage.
Hi, this is Senator Greg Tarver. KEEL always brings us information for the city of Shreveport. Robert and Erin, thank you very much for doing a great job.
We are KEEL. 1017 FM and 710 Keel.
You're listening to American Ground Radio's Morning Minute.
The latest United Nations global warming report says we only have 12 years to stop the world from reaching a tipping point. But back in 2006, they said we only had 10 years to stop us from getting to a tipping point. And that was 2 years ago.
Why do I get the idea that this is all made up? I'm not trivializing their concerns, but at the same time, no matter what the United States does, please consider China is building one coal-burning energy plant nearly every month. They're spending nearly $275 billion to establish a fracking program, and they've signed a pipeline deal worth $300 billion with Russia. But yet it's the United States.
854, it's 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Thanks to Scott Martinez from the North Louisiana Economic Partnership. Thanks to Dr. Jim Henderson, University Systems President.
Mm-hmm. Scott Hughes.
Scott Hughes. Those
big day.
Those interviews will all be up on the Keel website later.
Angie Wilhite's up there, too, by the way.
From the shooting earlier this morning.
A 1-year-old baby girl was wounded this morning.
What to you was the most interesting thing that Mr. Scott Hughes said about the Republican poll, the current state of the race, the mayor's race in Shreveport?
The thing that strikes me is that the Republicans did the poll for one reason, to find out which Republican should be the one or could be the one to beat Ollie, and they didn't find out.
And they didn't find that out.
They didn't get their answer.
The most interesting thing to me about it, and I just wrote it down here, and it was sort of a paraphrase of something he said. It's about time challengers go after each other.
Mm-hmm, that was good, too.
Especially, and I think this was what the point he meant to make, especially the Republicans in the race, Taliaferro and Savage, that they now have to make a choice. Do we get votes from Ollie? Can we get more votes? Peel more votes away from Mayor Tyler or from Adrian Perkins? And is the attempt to get more voters from either of those, do you have to take a separate approach? And the point Mr. Scott made was he thinks, I think he said, that Ollie's 27% if this Republican poll is on the money, is that Ollie's 27% is pretty damn solid.
Yeah.
That it's pretty solid going into the election in just about a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably the two of them will have a much better chance to beat the other as you get into more. This is the big question. Is it going to become, with Ollie at a solid 27 and virtually guaranteed a spot in the runoff in December, as the battle for second heats up, not only do the two of them, i.e. Taliaferro and Savage, have to go a little bit more, a little harder after Perkins, but Perkins has to do the same. But the question is, at what point, if neither is going to WD, if neither is going to withdraw, at what point do Taliaferro and Savage start to go after each other? Because that is the same voter. Because they want to ensure themselves that number 2 spot. Where are you going to get the votes? Taliaferro's got to get them from Savage and Perkins. Savage has to get them from Taliaferro and Perkins.
Right.
Back tomorrow morning, 6 till 9. It's 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Here's Kim Commando.
We all know about Facebook's massive data breaches. This time, Google announced a breach, and their idea is to shut the site down. Kim Commando with your Tuesday Consumer Tech Update. Get extended interviews on tech topics with the free Commando podcast, available on Apple Podcasts and Google Play. Google has its own social media site called Google+. Google announced that between 2015 and March 2018, no one was paying attention. A security flaw, as Silicon Valley likes to say, left the personal information of some 500,000 people up for grabs. Email addresses, gender, occupation, you get the drift, for years. Some 430 different applications had access to that data too. Google says that they're going to shut Google Plus down because no one was using it anyway. But that doesn't mean anything. Your data was up for grabs. What happened to the Google slogan anyway? Don't be evil. Oh, that's right. They stopped using that months ago. I'm Kim Commando. When you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. You need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes. Set up screener questions based on your job requirements. Then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed.com for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.
Good news, you're not stuck with your healthcare plan. Really, you have an option, and it's so good. Hundreds of thousands of people are already doing it. It's growing very fast. It's called MediShare. It's a healthcare sharing ministry, which means you can save a ton. The typical family saves $500 a month, and it's truly about sharing. You're helping others while you're doing what's best for your family. This has been a huge blessing for so many. Find out more. Call 855-25-SHARE. That's 855-25-SHARE.
Still keeping a close eye on that major accident on East Coons Industrial Loop near Professional Drive. And we have some traffic delays on Benton Road near Green Acres Boulevard in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline at 687-VOTE.
You're accurate with the forecast. Mostly cloudy and humid today. A shower thunderstorm around for the afternoon. High 84. Then tonight cloudy with a few thunderstorms around. Low 71. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport.